Good evening and welcome to our course selection evening for our current 6th and 7th grade students at Stetson Middle School. I would like to introduce all of the panelists joining us this evening. I, myself, Mary Kay Pacello, the principal. Mr. Jim DeWitt is our assistant principal and scheduler. Erin Stephen is our other assistant principal and assessment coordinator. Mr. Anthony Froyo is currently our temporary assistant principal, assisting with multiple administrative duties. And Mrs. Casey Cerullo is our guidance counselor. And of course, Mr. Cromwell is from our technology department helping out with the webinar. So thank you for all the panelists for coming this evening and joining us. We appreciate it. So tonight, parents, we're going to walk you through the course selection process. We're going to show you the options of the courses for your child to take, and we're going to show you exactly how to do that in PowerSchool in the parent portal for your child's education for the 22-23 school year. We are going to be recording this presentation in case you want to review the options again at another time with your child at home. Mr. DeWitt will explain and guide us through all the course selection process for both the rising 6th graders going into 7th grade and our rising 7th graders going into 8th grade next year. All of us will be able to answer any questions that you may have about this process tonight. So at the bottom of your screen, you can please submit any questions in the Q&A below. You'll see Q&A at the bottom of the screen during the presentation. If you have any individual personal student questions, we can answer them at a later time from the administration or the counseling department. So without further ado, let's get started with Mr. DeWitt and our course selection process.
Good evening, parents, and welcome. As Mrs. Pucella said, I'll be walking you through the course selection process for our rising 7th and rising 8th graders for next year. So some key dates that we need to pay attention to. The first one started today and runs through next week, Friday. Our teachers are currently making preliminary recommendations for your son or daughter. They're making recommendations in math, English, and reading. So that's going to be live and available for you starting February 14. At that time, we're going to ask you to go in and take a look at what those recommendations are and then choose your electives. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like a little bit later. After that window closes on the 25th, we're going to have to do some work in PowerSchool just to make sure everything is accurate. Then we're going to ask you the week of March 7 through March 11 to go back into PowerSchool, into the parent portal, take a look at the requests, make sure everything is accurate. And if there are any changes during that time, we're going to ask you to submit a course waiver form through your counselor, whether that would be Ms. Cerullo for a current 6th grader or Ms. Selgrath for one of our current 7th graders. And March 25th is that final course change deadline. After that, we're going to be have to be very careful about any of the other additional changes that we make. So all of our placement decisions, obviously we want to make sure that students are placed into the appropriate course that challenges them to their appropriate level. And we use, at the middle school level, we use a lot of different data points to make those decisions. Included in those data points are PSSA scores, both historical and most recent. We look at day-to-day classroom performance, and we look at how students are progressing on class standards. In some cases, we're having our math teacher collaborate with our science teacher, and we're going to have our English teacher collaborate with our social studies teacher to make sure that we're recommending your child for the right course level. In most cases, your son or daughter will be recommended to continue at whatever level they're in this year. They'll continue in that level for next year. So our rigor descriptions, we have accelerated honors, and grade level, and those levels are available in English and in math. In our reading, we only have honors and grade level courses. And those accelerated honors, we're looking at a really accelerated pace in terms of content. And it's a rigorous curriculum that extends beyond the grade level. Honors level students can earn enriched content at a challenging pace, and it's a rigorous grade level curriculum. And then our students who are on grade level are learning at a more continuous pace. The course provides the essential skills and content knowledge, and it's aligned to the grade level standards. So in English, 6th and 7th grade teachers are going to recommend accelerated honors, or grade level. And if you want to pay attention to this last number there in the course codes. So if a student is going into 7th grade and they're going to be recommended for accelerated honors, it would be 7009. If they're recommended for honors, it would be 7001, and a grade level course would be 7002. And then the same thing would be for 8th grade. If they're recommended for accelerated honors, it would be 8009. Honors would be 8001, and grade level would be 8002. And that's how that's one of the things that when you go into Parent Portal, you're going to want to pay attention to. So for math, we have some differentiated options in 7th and 8th grade. In 7th grade, we have students who will take Algebra 1, and those students will take a Keystone Algebra exam as an end of course exam in May of their 7th grade year. We also have an honors level course and a grade level course. And our 8th grade course options are we have geometry available for our students who have already taken algebra and passed the Keystone exam. We have Algebra 1 available, and we have pre-algebra, which is our grade level course. You can see how those, when we move from left to right, that's typically how we matriculate. So a student who takes algebra in 7th grade would then be recommended to take geometry in 8th grade. If they're in honors math 7 in 7th grade, they would take algebra 1. Science and social studies. In 7th grade, both science and social studies are not level courses, but in 8th grade, we start to see some different groupings. We have an honors course for science and social studies, and we have a grade level course for science and social studies. And the honors levels courses are going to end again with that 1 behind it, and the grade level course will end with the 2 behind it. So it's either going to be 8041 or 8042 for science, and 8031 for social studies, and 8032. I have a 7 there. Aha. One of the changes for our 7th graders is we see the availability for world language. So 7th grade students have the option of taking a reading class, that we have Spanish 1 or French 1 available as well. What we're going to ask you to do is check in Parent Portal. If a reading class has been recommended, then no further action is needed at that time. If there's no recommendation for reading, then your student has the option to take Spanish, French, or reading for next year. So that's for our rising 7th graders. Now, if your child was not recommended to take a reading class, you may choose to have your son or daughter continue to take a reading class into 7th grade. As far as 8th grade, so world language teachers are going to, if your son or daughter took a world language class, French or Spanish in 7th grade, that teacher is going to recommend that you have that, to continue in that class, make a recommendation for that class for the following year. We also have students who can begin a world language in their 8th grade year. Now, the option for students who do not take a world language is a course called Reading and Writing for Life. And Reading and Writing for Life is an elective designed for students who wish to explore reading and writing in the areas of short stories, nonfiction, journalism, living on your own, the law, and also script writing. So what do those world language options look like for an 8th grader? We have Spanish 1 available. So if a student didn't start a language in 7th grade, they can start Spanish in 8th grade. We have Spanish 2 for those students who began Spanish 1, and those students would be recommended by their teacher. We have French 1 available, and we also have French 2. And then we have 3 new languages available for students entering 8th grade. We have Latin, Italian, and German available for our students. Now, one of the things that determines whether or not a course is going to run is how many students elect to take that course. So not all of those courses will run, but we do hope to provide for those courses for all of our students. As far as music goes, all rising 7th grade students must choose a music class. And their choices, much like going into sixth grade, you have chorus, band, orchestra, or classroom music. Students in band, chorus, and orchestra are going to perform individually. They're going to work with ensembles in small groups. And there are 2 evening concerts each year. Our students in our performing music classes really want to try and improve their craft, whether it's singing or playing an instrument. And all 4 of those music classes are graded classes. Our other unified arts courses for our 7th grade students are art, family consumer science, computer science, and technology education. And each of those classes meets 6 days a cycle for 1 marking period. Those courses are not electives. All students receive those courses. So here's what a typical unified arts schedule will look like. Our unified arts for 7th grade fall during 3rd period and 4th period. And, we have that 6-day rotation. So 2 of the days for one of the periods would be health, 2 days would be phys ed, and 2 of the days would be music. And then that 2nd period, that 4th period, would rotate between art, family consumer science, tech ed, and computer science. Our unified arts elective options for our 8th grade students, that's where we open up a lot of opportunities. We have 2-day electives that are going to meet 1 each marking period for all students who are not going to be taking a chorus, band, or orchestra. So we have Design for the Real World, Intro to Internet and Web Design, Digital Media Creation, and Teen Impact. Those classes meet 2 days of marking period, 2 days a cycle for 1 marking period. And those are for our non-performing music students. And all 8th grade students will be scheduled for health and physical education. Now, our 6-day electives, and this is where it gets fun for a lot of our 8th grade students, because we've given them some more choices than what we've had in the past. Each student is going to have to choose 4 elective courses. They're going to have to choose 2 in what we call the arts and humanities group and 2 in the technology group. They'll have to choose between art in 2-dimension, art in 3-dimension, popular music, guitar, and that course says early child development, but that's actually a course called a different course that deals with child development. And then in the right-hand column, they're going to have to choose 2 courses in the technology grouping. And that first one, again, a mistake on my PowerPoint, my apologies, but we'll see it accurately on the next slide. Creative Chef was renamed to Culture, Cuisines, and Connections. But we also have Transportation Engineering and Design, Sustainable Design, Innovative Coding, and Junior Entrepreneur. So your son or daughter going into 8th grade is going to have to choose 4 courses, 2 from each side. So here come the nuts and bolts. So as a parent, what do I need to do in the parent portal if I have a rising 7th grader? In the parent portal, you're going to see that course registration tab. You're going to go into the parent portal, click on the course registration tab. You want to make sure you review what courses the teacher recommended for your son or daughter. And then you're going to choose a music class. So you're going to choose band, chorus, orchestra, or classroom music. And then you're going to review whether or not a reading course was recommended for you. And if it wasn't, then you're going to choose Spanish or French, or have the option to choose that reading class. So what do I need to do in Parent Portal for a rising 8th grader? Again, you're going to click on that course registration tab. You're going to review the course recommendations, and there you're going to see some differences. And then the first thing we're going to ask you to do is either choose a reading and writing for life course or a world language. You can see that you have some links there. And if your child was not in Spanish or French in 7th grade, then that Spanish 2 or French 2 will not be an allowable choice. Then we take a look at what our elective courses are, and we're going to ask your son or daughter to go in with your help and choose 2 from the arts and humanities and 2 from the technology. You can see there, the course names are there properly. We have that family food and finance course, which replaced child development. We have 2 art classes available, and then 2 within the music department, that popular music and guitar. We want to make sure you're picking 2 different courses in each of those, whether it's arts and humanity on the arts and humanities side, and then on the technology side with junior entrepreneur, culture, cuisine connections, transportation, engineering and design, sustainable design, and innovative coding. So your son or daughter is going to need to pick 4 classes. So as we talked, we had that window that comes on March 8, and that's where your opportunity to go online to make any changes, we no longer have that opportunity. But if there's something that needs to be changed, we're going to ask your son or daughter to see Ms. Cerullo or Ms. Salgrath, depending on their grade level, to get the course placement waiver form so that we have a way to document what the changes are that you're going to be requesting or recommending for your son or daughter. And any of the changes, especially if you're looking at having your son or daughter move up a level, are going to require a conversation with one of the administrators. So whether that's Mrs. Stephen for a student going into 7th grade, or with myself for a student going into 8th grade. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Puchala, and I'll stop the screen share.
Thank you, Mr. DeWitt. Appreciate it. Now, I know that was a very long presentation with a lot of information. I did have a question in the Q&A that asked about a recording. So in the very beginning, we talked about there's going to be a recording. This exact presentation will be presented and put on our website in case you want to go through it again, slide by slide. I just wanted to let you know that Mr. DeWitt also made a video for all of the students today. They viewed it during Falcon period. He made one for 6th grade and he made one for 7th grade to talk about them, to them directly about this is what your options are, kind of the same stuff that you just saw, and this is what you need to do with your parents. So when you get an opportunity to talk to your kid, ask them about what video they saw. You can go through this video again. You can walk through the process with them. Just a reminder that this week, February 1st through the 11th, is the teachers making the recommendations for next year. Most of our teachers will have a conversation with your son or daughter to talk about what they're recommending, especially in the leveled courses that Mr. DeWitt went through. Then have that conversation with your child about what do you think about that recommendation, and you guys together make that decision about what you want to select. Again, reminder, your timeline will be February 14th through the 25th to make those selections. I will remind you in the Falcon Flash. I will send something home just to be sure that everybody doesn't miss the window. All right. And again, we are always available to answer any questions that you may have. On our district website and on the Stetson website, we do have the course description guide. So make sure you're looking at the 22-23 course description guide. Okay. I'm taking a look at some of the question and answer questions for you.
Mrs. Pachala, I just put a chat in the window. It's a link to our course guide on the Westchester website. So what you just spoke about, if you missed that link, will take you to that. They are also shared on all of your students' computers. So all of your students have the updated 22-23 course description guides.
Thank you, Mr. Cromo. We appreciate that. Okay, I'm just waiting to see if there's any more questions or answers for you all. I hope you enjoyed listening to Mr. DeWitt and his very detailed. We thank you, Mr. DeWitt, for doing that. We appreciate you joining us this evening. We know it's a very difficult time to join us, and we appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. That means a lot to us. We hope that our presentation answered your questions and answers, and it was helpful for you. And again, I just want to remind you, it will be recorded and we'll post it on the website tomorrow. If you want to view it again, we'll leave it up there for a while until the window. And again, please don't hesitate to reach out to us with any individual questions or any question for that matter. We'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. So I'm taking a look at some of the questions to make sure I answered them all for you all. Recording slides. There are descriptions for the UA elective classes in that course selection guide. Maximum number of students in the UA electives. It depends on the course because some courses are smaller than others. Mr. DeWitt, do you want to comment on the numbers for different UA classes?
Yeah, we have students go through the elective process so that when we go to our staffing period, we make sure that we have enough seats available. So if we have a large number of students requesting one specific course, we'll make sure that we create enough sections so that all eighth grade, all of our eighth grade students will be able to have access to that course.
One of the questions in the chat is asking about whether we know when will the Keystone exam results be released. We usually take it in May, and we typically find out maybe like the second week in July. So we usually get those results out. Another question, if you choose to go to reading and not French or Spanish, you can choose reading or a world language. So again, I would have that conversation with your student who also talks to the teacher to see what they're recommended for. I would take a look, like Mr. DeWitt was saying, what they're recommended for, and have that conversation either with the counselor, the student, and the teacher.
Mr. DeWitt, another question came in about, can we see teacher recommendations and register through the student portal? Can you just clarify again the process for that?
Yeah, from what I don't believe that you're going to be able to complete that registration on the student side. I believe you have to go through the parent side of Power School. So you have to go through the parent portal in order to complete the registration process. And if you need help with accessing the parent portal, please contact our main office during the hours of 7:30 and 3:30, and someone will be able to help you out.
It looks like the coming in of questions in our Q&A has slowed down, so hopefully we've been able to answer all your questions for tonight. Thank you all for joining us. Mrs. Puchala, any last words?
Yeah, just again, I just want to reiterate, thank you for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. It means a lot to us because we're in this together as a team for the success of your child. We look forward to partnering with you another year. And again, please, if you think of something later after we get off the Zoom, just shoot us an email. Any one of the panelists that you see here tonight or the counselor will be happy to help you with any questions. Again, please have that conversation with your child at home and ask them about their video, and then you can compare with this video. Have a great evening. Thank you all for joining us. I hope this was very helpful for all of you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.